Welcome to webinar number 6 in our series of 6 recordings. The goal of this video is to provide you with insights into the similarities and differences between oil and gas occupations and those involved in the industrial construction and maintenance sector, and the transferability of workers between the two. The information covered in this webinar can be found in the Energy Career Transition and Employment resource at careertransitions.ca. This webinar was made possible through funding provided by the Alberta Government to PetroLMI, a division of Energy Safety Canada. The resource has been developed to help address the labour market inefficiencies created by the downturn in the oil and gas industry. It shares the results of our assessment of the transferability of skills, knowledge, and experience obtained in the oil and gas industry into employment in other sectors in the economy. Employers can use the resource to better understand how they can fill their hiring requirements with the skills and experience available in the pool of oil and gas talent. Job seekers and the career and employment practitioners that support them can use the resource to determine the best path to employment in another sector within our transitioning economy. I'd like to begin by providing background on the evolution taking place within Canada's oil and gas industry and what it means for the industrial construction and maintenance sector. The reason the energy industry is evolving is because it has to. Technology, and specifically horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing, has fundamentally changed the industry's ability to access oil and gas. So much so that in 2014, an abundance of supply triggered a rapid decline in oil prices. This structural shift in supply-demand balance remains today. For Canada's industry, the unlocking of previously inaccessible oil and gas reserves by the United States meant our primary customer no longer needs as much of our resources. And so while global demand for oil and gas is growing, those markets are in developing countries such as Asia, and our infrastructure has been built to supply the U.S. Layered on top of the shifting supply-demand dynamics are some of the world's most robust stakeholder and Indigenous engagement processes, strict environmental regulations, and increasing expectations from investors to decarbonize. The combination of these factors is driving the need for Canada's industry to fundamentally change its business model in order to sustain. Leveraging the Internet of Things and technological solutions offered by Industry 4.0 is an opportunity for industry to increase its competitiveness from both a cost and carbon perspective. These shifts are not unique to the oil and gas industry. Agriculture, forestry, mining, chemical manufacturing are examples of other industries undergoing some similar shifts. Engaging in new ways of doing business is driving new activities and expanding the energy industry's ecosystem and the skills, occupations, and service providers required. Activities are directly related to providing solutions to industry's key concerns of cost competitiveness and profitability. This includes increasing productivity while reducing costs, and this impacts the workforce. Decarbonizing and reducing its environmental footprint, enhancing company performance, and creating value through environmental, social, and governance practices. Expanding domestic and international markets to reduce our reliance on the U.S. as a customer, and finally, finding ways to accelerate technological solutions wherever possible. As a result of the investment and activities described on the previous slide, Alberta and Canada's economy is realizing emerging sectors and breathing new life into some of our more traditional sectors. Directly related to the topic of this webinar is industry's investment in infrastructure and the resulting demand for industrial construction and maintenance workers. The heavy industrial construction sector involves the construction of large, heavy industrial infrastructure. While it is unlikely we will see investment in the large greenfield oil sands projects experienced in the decade prior to the 2014 downturn, the investment in smaller expansion projects and ongoing and turnaround maintenance of existing projects continue to have a significant positive impact on the construction and maintenance sector's employment levels. Domestic and international market diversification is critical for sustaining Canada's oil and gas industry. Pipeline infrastructure to tidewater is required to get our resources offshore and decrease our reliance on the U.S. as the primary customer for Canadian oil and gas. For natural gas to be shipped offshore, LNG export projects are required. While these massive capital projects need direct access to bodies of water and are currently planned for BC, Nova Scotia, and Quebec, they are expected to draw workers from across Canada. In addition, smaller LNG facilities are being developed to deliver natural gas to remote northern communities and industrial sites to replace diesel as the primary fuel source. The abundance of affordable feedstock is helping to drive growth in Alberta's petrochemical industry and making the conversion of coal to natural gas power generation attractive. As a result, there are a number of new or expanded petrochemical plants planned for or currently under construction across the province. Retrofitting of coal-fired power plants to natural gas plants is also underway. Light industrial construction sector includes industrial facilities that require less engineering, equipment, and labor and have a shorter construction timeline. Wind, solar, and geothermal projects fall under this category. There is strong support from the oil and gas sector for renewable energy projects. Many oil and gas companies are either involved in building the renewable project themselves or entering into long-term contracts with renewable energy suppliers and enhancing economic feasibility of their projects. Finally, while not specifically listed on this slide, as the oil and gas industry is looking to decarbonize and reduce its environmental footprint, it is investing in clean technologies. Some clean tech requires infrastructure and therefore generates jobs for the industrial construction and maintenance sector. Carbon capture, usage, and storage is an example of clean tech that requires infrastructure. The Energy, Career Transition and Employment Resource focuses on the heavy and light industrial construction and maintenance activities that follow a positive final investment decision within our targeted sectors. Pre-FID activities undertaken by the project owner and related occupational requirements are detailed in the relevant sector sections. Following a positive FID, project owners typically contract other companies to take on project engineering, procurement, and construction activities, including detailed front-end engineering and design, or FEED, development of a detailed project execution plan, the procurement of necessary materials, equipment, and services, and finally overseeing off-site module fabrication, on-site construction, and startup and commissioning. Capital projects tend to follow the same life cycle of engineering and design, procurement, modular fabrication, which occurs off-site of the main construction site, on-site construction, and startup and commissioning. The activities that define each of these life cycle phases provides us insights into the types of occupations involved. The Energy, Career Transition and Employment Resource outlines the transferability between oil and gas and industrial construction and maintenance and our rationale for the transferability assessment. The methodology used for assessing the transferability of workers from the oil and gas sector into another sector is based on 3 criteria. The first criteria is technical transferability, which looks at the similarities between core qualifications, certifications, technical knowledge, and skills, as well as business processes, use of equipment and technology, the type of regulatory environment the sectors work in, as well as its customers and stakeholders. Nature of work transferability looks at the similarities in work arrangements, workplace culture, work relationships, and environments. And finally, value proposition transferability is an indication of the likelihood of a worker accepting an employment offer based on factors such as total compensation, location of work, career development opportunities, and alignment of values. For each of the criteria, transferability is rated as high, medium, or low. For a more robust explanation of the sector transferability methodology used for the energy career transition and employment resource, please watch the video titled How It Works, Sector and Occupational Transferability Methodology. Transferability from oil and gas into the industrial construction and maintenance sector differs along the project life cycle. This is important to recognize to help target your job search, and we offer the following detail of transferability across the project lifecycle and across the 3 criteria. We've assessed transferability between oil and gas in the engineering, design, and procurement phase of the industrial construction lifecycle to be medium to high. For those involved in major capital projects as an employee of an oil and gas company, this should be a very reasonable transition to consider. For those with mainly operations experience, transitioning into the industrial construction sector will take more of a shift and involve translating your operating skills into designing for operations. This may not be feasible for all transitioners as it is a shift in thinking. On the procurement side, some of the materials, services, and contracting agreements may be different between oil and gas and industrial construction, but many of the foundational skills such as negotiation and relationship building are the same and transferable. The main difference for an oil and gas worker considering a transition into the engineering, design, and procurement phase of the industrial construction sector is from a nature of work perspective. The construction sector is project work as opposed to business operations. And again, this may not be a shift for all oil and gas workers. Also, the contractor-project owner relationship is different. However, bringing an understanding of the needs of the project owner, or the customer in this case, may be of added value to an industrial construction company. The value proposition transferability is high due to the similarities in salary and potential career development opportunities. There are bigger technical, nature of work, and value proposition transferability considerations for those looking to transition from oil and gas into the modular, fabrication, or on-site construction phase of the industrial construction life cycle. While equipment, technology, and materials will be familiar, the operations skills and knowledge many oil and gas workers bring to the table are more focused on functionality, including troubleshooting and problem solving. Construction and fabrication is focused on building and installation. The on-site construction nature of work is also significantly different for those that are used to a plant or office environment. For oil and gas workers used to working in the field, the nature of work transferability to construction is higher, given similarities in working outdoors, being away from home, and living in camps. In looking at value proposition, pay and career opportunities for on-site construction is more similar to oil and gas than modular fabrication is. Those that have maintenance experience in an operating environment are likely to be highly transferable technically to working for a company focused on contracted ongoing or turnaround maintenance. This would be true for both managers and trades workers. We've assessed the nature of work transferability to be lower because of the contracted work arrangement involved. Turnaround maintenance is even more different than operations in that workers tend to be on a temporary assignment that could last weeks or perhaps a few months. For those that work locally, there also would need to be the transition to a rotational type of an assignment. Hourly pay of oil and gas and contracted maintenance workers is likely to be similar. However, given the contracted and sometimes short-term project-focused work available for maintenance work, annual salaries may differ significantly. The resource also looks at transferability at an occupational level. The occupational transferability between oil and gas and other sectors is assessed using 3 types: direct, refocus, and reboot. Transferability is considered direct if core qualifications, knowledge, and skills are essentially the same. Similarities related to nature of work and value proposition are also considered. Occupational transferability is considered a refocus if some skill and/or knowledge upgrading is required to qualify for a position in the new sector. Finally, transferability is considered a reboot if significant effort and resources are required to successfully transition. In some instances, it may also be necessary to consider a relocation. The first webinar in our series provides more in-depth information about the sector and transferability methodologies used in the resource. Also, for job seekers and the career and employment practitioners that support them, a suggested starting point is webinar number 2, Starting with You, Exercises to Explore Career Transition, which not only assists with identifying sector transferability preferences, it helps to prioritize what type of occupational transferability, direct, refocus, or reboot the career transitioner is best suited for. Occupational transferability is also assessed across the major project life cycle. As you see by the amount of green, which indicates direct transferability, there is a fair amount of transferability between oil and gas occupations and the industrial construction sector, especially for those that have participated in the development and construction of major projects while employed by an oil and gas company. There's also direct transferability between those that have held a maintenance role within oil and gas operations and those hired by companies offering maintenance services. To reiterate a key point from our sector-to-sector transferability assessment, the greatest difference for many occupations employed by the oil and gas industry and those employed by the industrial construction and maintenance sector is how technical skills are applied and the working environment. Some different regulations may apply, and key customer stakeholders may also be different. But the foundational skills required to navigate regulations and stakeholder engagement practices are highly transferable. We encourage you to look at the more in-depth explanation of both the sector and occupational transferability between oil and gas and the industrial construction and maintenance sector found in the resource. This information offers both job seekers and employers insights into qualification, skill, and knowledge similarities and differences between oil and gas occupations and those found in the industrial construction and maintenance sector. Understanding the activities that are more likely to result in an industry generating employment is an important consideration for a job seeker. Tracking activities that drive labor demand provides insights into the potential number and timing of job opportunities in a sector. The leading indicators of employment that we follow include investment announcements, government programs and/or other economic incentives for growth, changing regulations, and workforce demographics, as an aging workforce may drive job vacancies and therefore hiring requirements by a company. Timelines for demand can be found in the resource and relate to a reasonable line of sight from a job seeker's perspective. For the industrial construction and maintenance sector, investment in major projects or maintenance by other sectors is the key driver for activity and therefore employment. Company annual guidance reports and updates offer insights into the infrastructure investments being made. Investor presentations also offer good information about the kind of capital companies are spending and where. Companies are also getting better at announcing who they have selected for contractors and subcontractors for their major construction projects. This is important information to learn as it will help you focus your job search with the right contracting company. Changing regulations are not likely to drive industrial construction and maintenance activity or employment the way they do in other sectors. However, government spending and incentive programs can drive construction activity. These will be particularly key to watch as both provincial and federal governments look to support economic recovery. The list on the right-hand side offers concrete examples of sources we monitor to better understand trends and leading indicators of employment in industrial construction and maintenance. These sources are focused on energy-related investment and go beyond what you might read in mainstream media. Many of these resources you can sign up for and get regular updates to your inbox. Alberta Major Projects Inventory provides an overview and status update of major projects across the province by investing industry. Invest Alberta provides similar information. Both are important resources to follow if you are tracking industrial construction activity in the province. Worksica is a bit of a unique resource. It is Canadian, and beyond using it to search existing job postings as you would with other job boards, it also consolidates valuable information from historical job postings, including occupational technical and soft skill requirements, certifications, and what companies have been hiring. Other than the labor market reports, these resources do not necessarily outline labor or occupational demand. Rather, you will need to do some critical thinking about employment impacts as you review the information sources. Some key questions you could ask yourself are: how does this information impact employment demand? How might it impact employment for my occupation? And is there anything I need to do to stay current and/or improve my career resiliency? Canada's oil and gas workforce was profoundly impacted by the downturn that began in 2014 and will continue to be impacted as the industry undergoes structural shifts. It is highly unlikely that oil and gas workers that have had their careers disrupted during this time will return to working in the industry in the same way. This means that most of the job seekers in today's labor market is likely to need to undergo some sort of training and/or skill development to increase their employment opportunities. The industrial construction and maintenance sector may be a career transition opportunity for some of you. We encourage you to undertake additional research into what are the opportunities for your specific occupation. Learn more about how to position your skills and experience using terminology best understood by the industry, and monitor where along the development life cycle major projects across the province are at. For industrial construction and maintenance employers unable to find the skills and qualifications required, we encourage you to learn more about sector and occupational transferability and the value of the oil and gas talent currently available. This slide offers some suggestions for both job seekers and employers and how they can better connect. Career and employment practitioners and trainers can provide a valuable role in bridging the gap and addressing the labor market inefficiencies currently faced by our economy. The more we can increase the understanding of how the economy as a whole is transitioning and what that means for mid-career transitioners and job seekers, the better. Effective labor market transition will require short, flexible training. that provides opportunities for career transitioners to gain skills and knowledge that complements and allows them to leveraging their current area of expertise. We hope you found this webinar informative. Others available include more in-depth information on our sector and occupational transferability methodology, a walk through the Starting With You, exercises to explore career transition, an overview of the evolving energy ecosystem and how it impacts the oil and gas services sector and its workforce, and 2 other webinars that focus specifically on career transferability between oil and gas and clean tech and high tech. Our career transition work continues to be expanded and enhanced. We offer a number of opportunities to stay connected and up to date on our latest research and insights. Please follow us on our LinkedIn page, Talent Needs for the Evolving Energy Ecosystem. We also ask job seekers to take our survey and help us educate employers about Alberta's available talent. You can find it at SurveyMonkey or also at careertransitions.ca. We invite you to attend a job seeker or career practitioner virtual workshop. We will post these on our LinkedIn page. Finally, also please connect with us on our personal LinkedIn pages, Pat Huffnail-Smith and Cheryl Knight. We'd be happy to take any questions, and we'd love to hear your transition success stories.